was also very sick that day.
Hi, guys. Good evening, whatever it may be in your realm. Please don't mind whatever in the background. As you probably know, here in Philadelphia, there is no joy in Philly because the Eagles are out of any Super Bowl contention. I mean, the plus side is Cowboys are out, and so are the Patriots. But come on, guys, it's it's just a football game, please. You know, my husband was saying last night that the the football players from Pleasantville would have done a better job. At least when the starting gun went off, they'd run. Yeah, that was my husband saying that. He said it. Okay, yeah, I'm just repeating it. But I digress. I've got a lot to share with you guys today. I wanted to go in a little bit further with this morning's devotion and share some things that are on my mind concerning it. This was a very interesting passage this morning, reading Hebrews 13, verses 1 through 3. And I want to see if I can read them again with you because I think they're very important. I think that there's quite a few things that are contained within them that we need to see. And I wanted to share a little bit, especially about the whole issue of angels. And I also wanted to share just what they do, just what their purpose is, okay? Because I love how the writer says, first off, let brotherly love continue. And he gives an example of this about do not be forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares. Remember them that are in bonds as bound with, and them which suffer adversity as being yourselves also in the body. These are two really wonderful ways of showing that brotherly love. But the second thing I wanted to kind of focus on was about the issue of angels. Now, Webster's dictionary, of all things, gives a very interesting description of an angel with the definition: a spiritual being superior to humans in power and intelligence. That's a pretty interesting statement, and there's different types of angels, mind you. They're, yes, usually a white-robed winged figure. They're an attendant spirit or guardian, as also some of the definitions here. But this is what the Bible has to say on it, and there's, just so you know, 92 verses pertaining to angels, mind you. There's 92. Now, Genesis chapter 4, Genesis in particular has 4 instances. One is chapters 18, verses 1 through 5 in particular, where God and the angel and his angels came to visit Abraham and Sarah and announced to them that they were going to have Isaac that following year. But also, angels serve as God's messengers, and they have an important role in that aspect. There's also archangels, 2 of which are Michael and Gabriel, that are mentioned in Scripture. And also there are cherubs and seraphim. It's said that Lucifer, who became Satan, was a cherub. They are around God's throne, and they have that beautiful responsibility of praising God continually, saying, holy, holy, holy. And as I said, they serve as messengers. In Genesis chapter 19 in particular, 2 angels that were with the Lord back in chapter 18 go to Sodom and roust Lot and his family out of there. It wound up being Lot, his wife, and 2 daughters. And unfortunately, we know what happened to Lot's wife in that area. But there's others. other passages, Genesis 28:12, where Jacob sees a ladder going up to heaven, and many other passages that describe angels. Job in particular, the book of Job mentions angels as well. Behold, he put no trust in his servants, and his angels he charged with folly. Now, I don't know what that means in that aspect, but it shows, bottom line, the role that angels do play. Psalm 8, verse 5 states, "For thou hast made him a little lower than the angels, and hast crowned him with glory and honor." This is referring to man. If you read Psalm 8, you'll see what I'm talking about. There are so many passages, as I said. Psalm 91, verse 11 says, "For he shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all thy ways." That's another thing that they serve, and that's something of what this morning's devotions was all about. And I wanted to share that with you. I wanted to share a little bit more in that area with you. You know, it's interesting what the writer of Hebrews was talking about in this area about showing hospitality to strangers, to show hospitality to even people that you don't know, because you never know who you could be encountering. And there were a few instances, more than likely, that people were helping strangers who turned out to be angels unaware. Now, another good passage, too, in this area is out of Matthew. If you read in Matthew 25 in particular, if you read there, you will see Jesus speaking on something very important of the sheep and the goats judgment. And he says there, in particular, to kind of tie things in here, he says that when you do this to the least of these, you're doing it to me. And that's something very powerful when you're talking about showing brotherly love. And you're seeing so many instances in this area. I don't know how else to put it. But you're seeing so many instances of the responsibility of angels. You see it throughout all of Scripture. You see it in Judges in particular, where it showed up as a seemingly ordinary traveler to Samson's parents. And I really encourage you to look this up, to see just what angels do, to see their role. There's so many instances. You look at in particular the role that angels played when it came to announcing the birth of John the Baptist and the birth of Mary, and so many others. God has such powerful roles for them. And that's where I wanted to kind of share a little bit more with you. Because what the writer of Hebrews is talking about here is making sure that we continue to not only show brotherly love and affection toward each other, fellow believers, but also showing that same thing to even strangers that we don't know, because we don't know who they are. It's interesting in particular when it comes to Matthew chapter 25, if you read from verses 31 to 45, we're talking about the sheep and the goats judgment. And he says that if you've done this, he talks about in Matthew, in verse 31, when the Son of Man shall come in his glory and all the holy angels with him, then he shall sit upon the throne of his glory. That's going to be a powerful moment when he and the angels come. But if you see further in this passage, you see again what I'm talking about how it is so with the same dignity and respect that we want to be treated with. God sees that. But I also see how angels are there to help in our time of need, just as this morning's devotional writer was describing. And that's something I really wanted to share a bit more with you. I want to share something interesting here in a little further with this morning's devotions. The author, the devotional writer, one of them at least, says that verse 1 begins with a call to maintain brotherly love, and then verse 2 encourages readers to go further by extending love to strangers, that's those outside the community, by offering meals and lodging. This command is reinforced by the observation that some people have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it, and it points in particular to Abraham, Gideon, and Manoah and his wife's encounters. And you can find that in Genesis 18, verse 2 and 16, Judges 6:11, 13, verses 2 through 11. And he also says something about remembering and extending empathy to prisoners, those who are being mistreated in the name of Christ. I'm going to get into that a little bit more at another time. But I really love this morning's devotions in this area because the thought of entertaining angels unknowingly, because you never know who you're going to encounter, it reminded me of something I was sharing with my husband this morning. And this is why I was asking the questions I was asking from this morning's devotions. You know, in particular, yes, not only what you know about angels, but also this very important question too. Can you ever think of an instance where you may have encountered an angel without even realizing it at the time? And I'll be honest, I'm probably sure that I've encountered angels too many times to count, but never realized it, even now. And maybe I won't realize it until I'm in heaven with the Lord. But I know my father shared something, and this was a while back, quite a while back before he passed away. He shared something with my mom. My mom shared this, and I had to share it with you guys. My parents had a secondhand clothing store, and they had it for a number of years, and it was mainly while I was in college, and I was never really part of it, and I had my reasons for it, because I was in college, and also I just really, I felt like it wasn't, not just simply for me, but I felt it wasn't where God. As I was hearing my mom's account of this, she tells me today, and it was very bad weather. My father was not aware. How do I describe this? He had a situation where he was trying to open the car door and couldn't because it was frozen. That's how bad the weather was. And he kind of got mad at my mom. He's made a phone call to her and was, I'm not going to say all the details of the phone call, but it wasn't very good. But don't worry, my father later apologized in more ways than one. What happened was during this moment, my father was about to have an encounter, a major encounter at least, and God really convicted him as a result of it. My father called and apologized, as I said, big time, and shared how at the moment he was so frustrated, a man appears wearing not fancy clothes, decent clothing. In particular, what caught my dad's eye was, aside from the hair length, he was wearing a camel hair coat, but he looked very well, seemingly pretty well groomed. And he said to my dad, just calm down. Maybe what we can do here is put some warm water over the lock where it's frozen, and maybe we can get it open that way. So my father gave it a shot. He went back into the store, opened up the store, and got a container, filled it with hot water and some utensils so they could pry it open while they poured the hot water. This person helped my dad while my dad was pouring the hot water and everything, and they got the car open. They got the car door open. My dad sets things inside the front seat of the car, goes to thank the man, and I kid you not, people, the man was gone. The man disappeared. My father was searching all over the shopping center area for him. Went into the supermarket that was there and asked, "Did you see this guy?" They had no idea what my father was talking about. My father firmly believed, and I do as well, that he had encountered an angel, that God sent him an angel in that moment of frustration to help my father. And I believe that God sends us angels in different ways, just like this morning's devotional, when you're talking, mentioning about people like Louise and Michael, that God sends us people just when we need them at that instant. And then when we go to thank them, they're gone. I've probably had that happen to me, and maybe I don't even know it. But I also believe that I've encountered angels without realizing it, possibly in particular during everything that I've been through, certain things I've been through in particular, when I was going through the sexual abuse I was enduring. I believe God was intervening through his angels to make sure that worse didn't happen to me and or my family. I think how God was intervening for me with my abusive ex-fiance through sending his dad. That's one example of an angel right there. At the right moment, I was one day had enough of my ex-fiance's abusive, selfish nature, and I'm about halfway to the Easton Peaburg Bridge, and his dad comes and picks me up and takes me home. I mean, I consider that, but I also think of how God just sent unexpected people in my life throughout the years while I was in college and in other ways. And I was thinking even, in particular, certain individuals who helped give me the justice I needed when I was dealing with a stalker. It was another version of my ex-fiance, but I was onto this guy, and I don't think he appreciated it. Pardon me. But in that moment, people, God sent some wonderful angels my way, one of which is a very dear friend of mine who's still in law enforcement. And also, even right now, we have angels helping us right now through the food pantries and through the rescue I volunteer at. And I see through all of this that God uses his heavenly messengers to be there for us when we need that help the most, for meeting us in our time of need and reaching and being able to give us that help that we badly need. That's how I see it. I would really encourage you today to Google, on Bible Gateway in particular, just put in the word angels and see how many verses of scripture do come up. I'm telling you, you're going to be amazed. But most of all, I believe that you will be truly amazed at what God can and will do when you let him. Maybe when you're not even realizing it, people. That's what I'm learning. It's what I'm learning even now. And I just wanted to share that with all of you today. I pray that with whatever you're going through, whatever it is, that you'll reach out to the one who knows what you're going through, who cares about you, and is there to meet your every need. I pray that you will see that he hasn't forgotten you, he hasn't abandoned you, and he never ever will. And most of all, I want to say to remember to not be afraid to show hospitality, even if it's an encouraging word to somebody, or go over, an encouraging note, or bake a pie, or something. Go over to somebody's place for, bring them dinner if they need. Who knows what they need. Ask God to use you in that capacity, and let him use you. But most of all, don't be afraid to show hospitality, even to somebody that you don't know, because you never know who that person could be. And be thankful for those unexpected angels, those unexpected moments where God uses his messengers in your life, even when you don't see it. Maybe you look back on it and see, God was here in this. It may not be till you get to heaven that you might meet those angels, but know that God is always looking out for you. If you are his redeemed child, he's always looking out for you. And even if you don't know him, he's still looking out for you because he's trying to get your attention. He's trying to get your attention to say, now is the time to come to know me. I'm at the door of your heart. Let me in. And I would really encourage you today to let him in. I'm going to post a link where you can know more on that. But I pray today that you will take that time to reach out, to be an encouragement to someone, no matter who it is, even if it's somebody you don't know. Just be an encouragement. I've got to get going, but I really wish you all a really great Monday evening. And remember, God always has angels watching out for you. Bye for now.